All right, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the GSL Team League. I am Moltrap. With me here is Caldor today, and we're going to have a quick interview with our two coaches.
정말 긴장되는 날이 아닐 수 없습니다. 4강에 오를 충분한 자격을 가진 최고의 두 팀이 만났죠.
Pretty nice start here for StarTale once again. Curious defeating Flower.
안녕하세요.
Let's see what the coach has to say about this first game and obviously also about the team match.
네, 오늘 1세트가 끝났는데요. 감독님, 1세트 승리하셨습니다. 축하드리고요. 네, 오늘 와 역시 이원표 선수 대단하네요. 오늘 멋지게 출발하셨는데 오늘 경기 느낌 어떠신가요?
일단 상대가 저희가 예상했던 플레이를 그대로 해줘서 좀 쉽게 이긴 것 같습니다.
아 그렇군요. 쉽게 이겼다고 하시는군요.
They predicted NSO was their first player, and Curious had an easy time being his first match because they knew exactly who was going to face him.
만들 수 있을까요? 어떨까요?
네, 저희도 이제 수치상 차봉에서 승률이 높아서 차봉이 이길 시에 이제 팀 승률로 높아지고 있기 때문에 저도 모르게 그거에 대한 중점을 더 두게 되더라고요. 그래서 네, 두 번째는 좀 강한 선수로 내보내게 됐습니다. 네.
그렇군요.
Jakji won a lot of matches when he played second in the GSTL, which is the reason why they chose him to be the second player in today's match.
계신데요. 이 세트는 이원표 대 정지훈. 우승자 출신의 대결이자 또 올킬러들의 대결입니다. 상대 선수를 냉정히 평가해 주신다면 어떨까요?
일단 정지훈 선수는 우승할 당시에도 저그를 잡고 우승을 했기 때문에 저그전에 대해서는 거의 탑 3 안에 드는 선수라고 생각하고 있습니다.
그렇군요. 감독님.
Jakji defeated a Zerg player when he won the GSL, so he thinks that he's a really, really good player.
처음에 나와서 정말 좋은 성적을 많이 거두시더라고요.
Yeah, obviously Jakji has a really good score against Zerg and defeated Leenock in it's his best matchup.
좀 이원표 선수는 잦은 실수가 많이 하는
Curious tends to play better and better if he wins matches in the GSTL, so then Sosa coach now is trying to defeat him as soon as possible. They don't want him to get this momentum going for him.
벌써부터 기대가 되고요. 지난주에 박영식 감독님께서 인터뷰 때 최지성 선수에게 올킬 당한 복수를 제대로 하겠다 이렇게 말씀하셨는데 들으셨나요?
네, 들었습니다. 인터뷰 방송 봤고요. 그래서 흐뭇했습니다.
흐뭇했군요. 감독님, 오늘
Last week, then Sosa coach said that they want revenge for the all kill of Bomber.
복수한다는 거는 그냥 기세에서 눌리지 않으려고 했던 말이고요. 복수는 또 다른 복수를 낳게 되는 거니까 그냥 오늘 좋은 경기 했으면 좋겠습니다. 네.
그냥 막장으로 가자.
Well, I guess they could still come back and get an all kill.
뜨거운 경기가 펼쳐질 것 같습니다. 여러분들 계속해서
not going to be 5-0, no.
지난 시즌에 이어서 두 시즌 연속으로 플레이오프에 오를 팀은 과연 어디가 될까요?
Yeah, 5-0 definitely won't happen today, but still. Well, actually, it could for StarTale. It could happen for StarTale, but not for NSOSA anymore. Who, well, they stated that they want to all kill StarTale this time, which might still happen, but not with a 5-0 score. So the next map is going to be not in favor of Curious. Let's say that.
Before the Storm.
Calm Before the Storm is going to be the next map. We saw really interesting builds in Calm Before the Storm. A lot of Zerg. Well, Zerg players hate the map. It is, hands down, it is horrible if you are a Zerg player. It doesn't matter if you are facing a Terran or a Protoss. It's an awful map. But a lot of...
so bad, it's even bad in Zerg versus Zerg. That's how much they hate it.
And, well, the thing is, we see very cool builds on this map sometimes. Because Zerg players know, okay, I'm playing on a map that's definitely not working in my favor. My opponent gets a free second base. He basically can take a third without any problem at all. So it's really working to my... it's really not in my favor to play here. So I have to come up with some kind of strategy that can give me an edge. And in this matchup, in a Terran versus Zerg, we've actually seen 3 hatch before pool, which is pretty cool. Taking a risk, but is something that you can definitely go for. If you expect your opponent starting with a 14cc, for example, you can go with a triple hatch before you start with your pool and things like this. So very, very interesting games that we've seen in the past. And the problem that I sometimes have with this map is that a lot of Zerg players just try to go for some kind of very, very all-inish strategy. We've even seen Nidus work play on this map, which is kind of a coin flip. If your opponent scouts the Nidus, then you usually are in a very bad situation, unless you play, for example, a Hydra push with a Nidus against a Protoss player, where you can use Nidus not only in the main base, but actually as a forward Nidus in front of the wall in. So a lot of different strategies that we've seen in the past, but a map that is not in favor of Zerg, which is exactly the reason why Jakji chose it. He could have chosen Antigua, but I think he wants to save Antigua for a player later in the story.
I actually wouldn't be surprised if we see Curious do a 3-hatch before pool, because he is a very strong macro player, and he's probably expecting Jakji, who is also a strong macro player, to make use. I mean, he chose this map, so there's no chance that Jakji is not going to be doing a macro build on this. Well, I won't say no chance, but sometimes we've seen in the past, especially in the Team League, that players will choose a map that usually warrants a certain kind of strategy and then not do that to try and catch their opponent off guard. But Jakji, the kind of player that's very likely to go for a macro-oriented play, either command center first or one racks into command center, so we could see that out of Curious as well.
I've been casting so many games the last few weeks. Right now, I really can't remember who the player was who used the strategy, the 3-hatch first against Terran on this map. I am actually kind of thinking that it was Curious, but I can't remember perfectly. Guys, if you know, please let us know.
Well, well, anyway, we're going to get into this game and find out in just a moment here. StarTale Curious taking on the star of Venice Hoso, Jakji.
Yeah, I can't put my hands on it. I really want to know if it was Curious.
Are you curious to know?
I'm really curious. And so is our Zerg player starting to the top right of the map. We have Calm Before the Storm, chosen by Jakji, the new opponent of StarTale.
StarTale! Curious!
I just casted some games just yesterday, actually, that were between Cass and Revival, and Revival went 3-hatch before pool.
Yeah, it's a really good strategy when you expect an early expansion by your opponent. It's taking a gamble, though. If you are rushed, then you can definitely lose the game within the first few minutes. And we've seen players getting really aggressive on Calm Before the Storm. We've seen a lot of proxy play as well.
Yep, and here is our turn player.
NS Hoso, Jakji!
Alright, Jakji. We're going to find now. He's got SCVs queued up. He's going to command center first.
He's going for the command center first, and let's see what Curious is doing. He's already drone scouting his opponent.
Yeah, very intelligent. He wants to see if it's that command center first or if it's some other kind of shenanigans going on, and so he can respond in kind. And he's actually scouting cross positions first, so he can check that. No, he actually was just checking the tower in the middle, and now he's actually going back to the top left of the map. And there he's getting an expansion in his, I guess, what you call front expansion first.
Which is common. That's basically what you want to do, because to get a free third later on, it's much easier to defend the base to the front as soon as the creep is spread. So you get the outside base first, and then later on you take a third.
Exactly.
And we have the pool.
Wow.
So he's going for the pool against 14 CC. We don't see 3-hatch Expo.
That's too bad. I was kind of hoping for that. But we do see Refinery before Barracks, actually. So extremely, extremely greedy build here by Jakji. And unfortunately, Curious was a little bit too concerned. Didn't go that greedy, so he's going to be kind of behind in this situation. But Jakji's probably going to go ahead and get a factory right after. Oh, is he going to... No, never mind. He's just drone scouting still.
I'm really interested in what Curious is going to do on this map, what he has in mind, what kind of strategy he's going to use. As I already mentioned, it's really hard to play against Terran or Protoss on this map if they execute it properly. We've seen a bunch of games where it did not work out, where Terran players or Protoss tried to be a bit too cute, but if you just rely on your standard macro game on Calm Before the Storm, you are usually fine on in this matchup. And he can't just expand towards his opponent, he can establish a planetary fortress between the bases. There's the option of expanding to the left, depends all on the unit composition that he's going to use. And we already have the factory now building, the double orbital is building at this point, and a ton more of scouting going on for Curious.
Yep.
Will soon enough spot that his opponent has his expansion in the back.
Yeah, and Curious did go in there and he scouted that the gas was there, and he actually, I believe, clicked on the gas to find out how much gas had been mined, so he can get a good gauge on when the factory is going to be completing and when Hellions are going to be on the way to his base. And, I mean, here's the advantage of getting that expansion. There, he's just scouted it with his Zerglings anyway, just to make sure. But, yeah, sees the reactor and everything. The advantage of having that expansion in the front now is that he's got the creep there. He can build that creep, spine crawler that we see. And that will defend against Hellions, and he can easily take a third once he realizes that Jokji has a second base.
He's also delaying his gas. This will allow him to get additional queens. He has 3, is getting the 4th, and this is really, really helpful if you want to defend against Hellion. You can just block the ramp with 2 or 3 queens. You can spread the creep a lot faster. So this is kind of the safer scenario. You can't get aggressive because you don't have speed, and your gas and your whole tech is a bit delayed. But on Calm Before the Storm, there is no way that you are really going to be really aggressive against your opponent. You can't just try to gamble and go for a Baneling Bust all in, but usually it doesn't really work all that well. Most Caron players will spot it early on and prepare it. So in this scenario, it makes perfect sense for him to delay his gas, and at some point he will just throw down 3 or 4 extractors at a time. Here we go, 3 extractors, maybe even a 4th.
Yeah, and
3 for now.
Going for, you know, I guess what's called Spanishiwa style, going for the mass queens, just getting a lot of queens in the spine crawler to defend against any kind of early aggression, not getting gases until he's got a really nice economy going, and actually a 3rd hatchery in the in the main instead of in the expansion in the bottom right. That's a little bit interesting. He's got that expansion to take, but instead of putting the hatchery there, he's putting it in his main. I guess he's worried about drops maybe, and or perhaps about banshees. That might be another reason why he has so many queens, but doesn't feel safe putting the expansion in his protected expansion. That's kind of strange, but
doesn't really make sense to me. The only thing that I can come up with is that at this point he just doesn't want to spread his unit out to thin.
I guess that's what it is.
Everything else doesn't really make all that much sense. Probably doesn't want to saturate the base yet, so he keeps the main base. So he has the queen at the same position, 2 queens at the same position, can defend a little bit easier against drop play.
Maybe he forgot what map he's on.
I doubt it, but yeah.
I'm just kidding. Baneling Nest going down now for Curious. Yeah, he's gone up to about 50 drones. He's just now getting Zergling speed, actually, and that Baneling Nest and the lair. So teching up all at once after he got those 3 gases.
Yeah, and here comes Jokji now, who's playing a bit more aggressive. He didn't get the 3rd base. Here comes the hatch for Curious.
A little bit later.
But yeah, the problem, or not the problem, but the thing for Jokji is at this point he did not build a command center, but he tries to squeeze out more units, attacks with his forces, and expands behind it.
Yeah.
So not the passive style that we used to see on this map very, very often. He tries to be a little bit more aggressive with it, and therefore it's a very good move for Curious to get those Banelings.
Yeah, this is going to be a strong push. He's going to have a lot of Marines, a lot of Hellions as well. He's going to scan and take out all these creep tumors out in the front. And Banelings are morphing. He actually spots some of those Banelings, and he's going to actually elevator some of his units into the 3rd, and this may be why he didn't build that 3rd there originally, is because he was worried about this. Banelings rolling down here into this 3rd location to try and put a stop to this. He's actually just going to evacuate.
If he would actually have left the queens at the high ground, he might have been able to snipe one of the medivacs. And they are too slow to join up with the army at the bottom, so not... Well, he could have just tried to go for hold position and use them on the high ground for a medivac snipe while defending with the Banelings and the Lings on the low ground. The Infestation Pit is ready, so he can start his tank now. He's getting, there it is, Peppered Glance, +1/+1 is being researched as well. And Curious already spotted his opponent's 3rd base.
Nice. Baneling speed on the way, as well as those pathogen glands. Combat shields is almost completed, and now he's finally getting some siege tech. So yeah, Jokji, he went for this push, and he's like, alright, well, you know what, you got Banelings, you got defenses, I'll just chill and contain you right now, and I'll get my extra expansion going, and get my tech going as well. Oh, boom. Marine had a suicide mission.
Not a happy
Commander
Marine.
said, alright, you take drugs and run at the enemy single-handedly and see what you see. He said, okay. He didn't see anything though, so
yeah, I didn't see a lot here. Well, Jokji is able to contain his opponent a little bit. He has the bases, he's doing a fine so far. We have him with +1/+1 being researched as well. The siege tank mode is being researched, and Jokji is now just pulling back. He doesn't want to be overrun. with his opponent's forces. And let's face it, Curious, he has a ton of lava here. The infestation pit is also being spotted, so there's just no reason to stand there without tanks. In order to deal with the Infestor play, you need some tanks sieged up and try to lure the Infestor into the tank range. And he's just standing there with Marines, and of course Hellions is not the way you want to approach this. Therefore retreating, and we have Curious just opening a new expansion, new possible expansion with killing the rocks.
Yeah, and here's where we kind of see one of the disadvantages for Zerg on this map coming into play, where the Terran has 3 bases, and the Zerg is going to want to take a 4th. And look at where that 4th is. It's way out on the side. He has to kill off rocks to get it, and it's going to be really hard to defend that. By the way, 2-2 is on the way for both players. I like that Jockji is kind of keeping up in upgrades, even though it looked like, oh, hold that thought, he's actually coming with the Banelings. No, he's going to be chased away. Will he get surrounded by the Zerglings?
A few Hellions. Takes down 2. I think he could have gotten a few more, especially with the Infestors trying to line up here. And at this point in time, it's looking really good for, considering his tech and everything, it doesn't look too bad for Jockji. The problem that Jockji is going to have to face later on is the late game composition of Curious. I'm really interested in what Curious is trying to do, because usually on maps like this we see Zerg players giving the advantage to the Ultralists, because the map is huge and it's very hard to just defend your bases with a composition that is very slow, like for example Broodlords. But Broodlords in general is the better composition against Terran. They are just such a great unit, and they can make it very hard for your opponent to approach this if you have the perfect composition of Broodlords and Corruptors.
Oh, he's targeting down the hatchery. Is he going to get it? The Zerglings are trying to kill the Marines off. Oh! Oh man, that was down to, I think, below 20 hit points on that hatchery. He was trying to target it down. Very, very clutch by Curious to not cancel it. That was really close.
He needs transfuses though. If he does not use transfuses in order to heal the expansion, then there's no way it's going to survive. Even a suicide drop would definitely be enough, and a good investment.
Yeah, and that's what we saw going across the left side of the map right now. He does have a drop en route. Ooh, a nice fungal catches a couple medevacs. Another fungal catches a lot of Marines. The Banelings roll in at these other Marines that are trying to chase them. Just some kind of skirmishing here going back and forth. Both players trading, but Jockji is maxed right now. He's in a really strong position. Actually, this drop... No, there's 2 drops. This is a second drop that is just going to suicide, I guess.
Oh my
10 hit points on that medevac. 10 hit points on that medevac. That Queen wants to kill it.
Yes.
And it does. Only a couple Marines get out. That was a little bit silly by Jockji.
This is the time that Jockji needs. He knows that his opponent has just completed his hive tech, so that has no tech just yet, and he needs to attack right now. And this is exactly what he does. He has 8 tanks, and there comes the second job. And as I said, he needed transfuses, didn't use them, so this expansion is going to die. Well, there's the huge engagement in the middle of the map. At least the Infestor's trying to delay it a little bit.
Yeah, that expansion is definitely going to die. And some nice fungals going off. I'm not sure exactly what... Oh, actually, that's why. Curious doesn't have any larva right now. He's got a lot of money in the bank, but no larva. Nice fungal, and the Baneling follow-up kills a ton of Marines. And Jockji's supply drops about 30 in a handful of seconds.
Still has the tanks in the back, trying to secure the rest of them. Doing not too shabby here. We have the drop once again at the expansion now, and there's the Ultralist tag as suspected. Not going for the Broodlords. They're just too slow on this map, make it very, very difficult to defend bases. The only thing that he can do is trying to hit a timing, trying to attack your opponent. But as soon as your anti-air units are dead, you will lose your entire army. Ultralists are not very good at running away.
Well, if you're a Zerg player and you have a lot of money to spend and very few larvae to use it on, what do? Kaldor? You make 5 Ultralists, and that is exactly what he's done. But are these Ultralists going to be enough, though? I don't think so.
He has too many Marauders already. He's on 24 Marauders and 20 Marines, so this is a very good composition, especially against Marauders. He can just make sure that he snipes them down one by one, and the Ultralists, I don't think that they will have a good time.
Nope.
Also against the Infestors, you need 4 shots to take one down.
And the Ultras are going to be popping out very, very soon. There they are. This is the last defense of Curious. If he doesn't hold this push right now, he will lose the game. But with just a handful of Zerglings left, I don't think he's going to be able to break through this infinitely tiered tank. Well, actually, no, there's not too many tanks just behind there. He's got more tanks back at home.
He has the Marauders.
The Marauders are going to be able to target down those Ultralisks very quickly. Massive Ultralisk skeletons littering the map right now.
He's playing this very, very well, very smart. He's already 60 supply ahead. Not a surprise here. Jakji, his TBC is his best matchup. The map is in his favor. Curious tried to just play the standard game here. Did not put up too much pressure. He defended against Jakji's attacks, but in the end, it is the NSOSA player who's going to prevail in this game.
Yes, a very important win for Jakji. He needed to get this back. I mean, he is their star. He is their ace. So if he didn't get at least one win, it would be really horrible for the team. Curious really trying to defend here. Some nice bungles going down. All these units, he might even clean this up for the moment, but Jakji is so far ahead right now, I don't think he's going to come back.
He's still 40 supply ahead, and the one thing that Curious is going for him is his bank. He has 1,000 minerals and 1,000 gas. He has a problem with the lava, though, as you pointed out earlier, Moltrap. Only 3 lava left, and these Marines are just going to town with the support of the Marauders. The upgrades are 3-3 at this point, so they are maxed, and they are going to take down the expansion. So at this point, we have Curious back on 3 mining bases, but one of them does not really have a good saturation. Yeah, the Queen is dying to the Marauder because of the upgrade. Zerglings in the back abandoned the Queen. Maybe it was mean.
Zerglings abandoning their Queen. Anyway, so yeah, Jakji with a very nice play there. Able to take out Curious. And Curious just, I mean, Jakji went for a very greedy build, and Curious did not punish him at all and did not get equally greedy. So he felt behind early on, and Jakji just kept making that lead stretch into more and more of a lead.
I actually don't think that on this map 14 CC is too bad. Usually the distances are just so huge, so you can't defend unless your opponent is starting, for example, with a, let's say, a 7 pool, and with a 7 pool it's very hard to scout your opponent first, so you will maybe arrive a little bit too late. So I think your pool was actually okay. He didn't even go for the 3rd command center.
It usually works out well. I'm not saying it's easy to punish him, but he didn't do anything to punish him. And he wasn't even just command center first. It was command center, then refinery, then barracks. It was just, you know, his barracks was so delayed. I'm not saying that Curious could have done a lot differently, but he did fall behind early on, and it cost him in the mid game. So very nicely played by Jakji.
The next map is going to be Daybreak. We just got an invite. Well, Legend did. And today we have a different setup to the setup we had yesterday, which was a different setup to the setup we have usually. So today we see exactly what Legend sees, and he just joined the lobby, which is Daybreak. So, yep, this is pretty cool. And let's have a quick look at the rest of the players.
Yeah, Jakji's weakness is versus Protoss, so I might send Squirtle out right now to see if I can take him out. Maybe Ace, but it's gonna be another Zerg! July Zerg.
I like it.
I like it too, actually.
I like this a lot. July Zerg now up against Jakji, and the map is a good one. We have Daybreak. A lot of Zerg players really like to play Daybreak against Pennant, especially with the good Food Lord composition in the mid game. You can control the middle of the map, you can control the base to the bottom and to the top.
There you go, July Zerg in Code S this season, or this upcoming season. He actually did extremely well in his up and down matches.
Yeah, he's back in Code S.
Very strong player here. And July Zerg, I mean, you never know what he's going to do, man. He is so unpredictable. He does all kinds of different things, different styles. And he's very aggressive, so there might be exactly what they need to take on the relatively safe style of Jakji.
I love his first-person stream. It's actually so funny to see him play against Protoss on a lot of maps. He's really playing with an early pool and just rushing the entire time. I don't know who I asked about it, but I talked to a couple of Korean players about it, and the response that I got to the question why he does this is, well, he can't be bothered.
Pretty much. Man, this guy's been playing for so long. It is he can probably play StarCraft in his sleep and still compete at a high level. He is so experienced that yeah, I mean he might even be just bored with normal games now. He's just grinding out games just for fun on his stream.
Codes against Codes. We have July against Jockey. Daybreak going to be the map. The countdown is
counting down.
Yep.
We're gonna get started with the next game of StarTale versus NS Hosa. It's tied up. Who will break the tie in favor of their team? Will it be July or will it be Jockey? We're gonna find out right now.